That's Vertigo from U2, played on my new iPhone 8 Plus. Have quite a few adventures that we've had to deal with to get these stinking phones, and they're not all completely taken care of, but this is my new phone. Yay! Dawn got a new phone, and we got a new phone for the girl. She's starting her 6th grade on Tuesday, so we figured she's got a little more responsibilities she has to handle, and she's going to have more activities to do. And so we figured we'll give her a phone. We'll give her brother a phone when he's in 6th grade also. She got a Samsung J7, I think. So she's online now too. So we got unlimited plans. So took a while to convince the wife to go for the unlimited plan, but we got it. So we have unlimited data, which is wonderful. So don't have to worry about anything else. And the funny thing is, when we were getting the quotes for everything, the unlimited data was cheaper than if we were going to go with unlimited data for our phones, and then for the tablets we have 2% or 2 gigabytes or something like that. But we got unlimited for everybody, so it all works out. So hey, I'm excited. This is Dylan Knows episode 257, Machismo at the Graveyard. That comes into play a little bit later today, but I thought it was a funny title for an episode. I've got one viewer. I think it might be Scotty Troutman, but I'm not sure. But if it isn't, hey, it's cool. Thanks for watching. Don't leave. Let me know who you are, and I'll talk about you on the air if you want to, or you can just watch in quiet, and you can do that as well. But everything else is the same with my phone, so we may as well just go into that story then, because this is the first story we're going to do. So we decided we were going to do this for Noelle. We were going to get her a phone for school, because she will be coming home and be buying it herself for a few hours, and she's going to go get Noah from the bus stop and bring them, and they'll be back home together for about a few hours also before I get home and Dawn gets home. But we've slowly but surely been keeping them by themselves for a while. I mean, when we've gone out and done Pokemon raids, or if we had to go to the grocery store or something like that, they didn't want to go. We would go for a half hour to an hour, and they were fine. Dawn, actually, we've kept them at home. Like during a snow day, we kept them at home for like half a day, well, by themselves, and then Dawn came home after working half a day to watch them. Because in the morning, technically, all they really do is they look at their tablets or their phones or play video games or play Roblox on the computer, and that's it for like 3 or 4 hours. I know it sounds horrible. We're like horrible parents. We don't play with our kids, stuff like that. We do. We play with our kids, and we do stuff like that with them. But sometimes we want to just unwind as well. So we did that. So we went to Verizon, because that's where we have our plan, and we traded in our old phones. Got a little bit of money back on them to go towards the new ones we got. Both Dawn and I got the 8 Plus, the iPhone 8 Plus, and so we got Noelle the J7 from Samsung. But here's the thing. A couple things. First of all, somewhere probably 3 years ago, because we've had these phones almost 4 years probably before we got our new ones. Somewhere about 3 years ago, I turned off the backup to the iCloud. So nothing was backed up. So luckily, before he went in to switch the stuff from my old phone to my new phone, I made sure, have I backed up? Because I don't think I did. And luckily I said this, like, oh no, you haven't backed up anything since 2015. So we did the manual backup there. And I got another viewer. Hi, hello. We had another viewer and they just disappeared. We had a manual backup. And then so he just went ahead and did the backup while we were waiting. It took about 15 minutes, and while we were doing that, we got Dawn's phone set up and Noelle's phone set up, and then we got mine, got backed up all the way, and then we shifted it all over, and then everything was good, and we left. And we came back home, and as we're looking at our phones, Dawn noticed on her phone that she had nothing from 2015, or anything after 2015. None of her apps, social media apps were up. None of her messages were there. The App Store wasn't even there. So she was freaking out about that. So she drove back to the Verizon store by herself and went in there and told them what had happened. Luckily, they hadn't erased our phones completely. So they found out that when there were like multiple backups, the one that the guy he hit the wrong one by accident. So they just erased what was on the phone, the new phone, and backed up the proper backup on her old phone that had all her stuff on it, and it was done perfectly, and she came back home. And it gets better. So about an hour ago, I should say, I wanted to check something because I took a picture of Jinx. And I wanted to check how the picture looked. So I went to my photo stream, and there was only 2 pictures. One I'd taken with Noelle at dinner tonight, and one of Jinx. My other 5,000 pictures that I had saved on my photo stream, wiped out, gone. That's my fault. I thought maybe once he did the backup at the computer store that would back up my photos. Apparently the photos probably are a different species, and I had to back up the photos separately, which I didn't do for, I guess, forever, I suppose, because I had no picture. Well, that's not exactly true. I had pictures from August 2nd, I guess about a month's worth of pictures. I have to make sure that I don't lose those. I think that they should still be okay. I had about a month's worth in there, which is weird, but I had about a month's worth in there. And hopefully, you know, maybe I should do that before the 2nd comes and they delete off the ones from the 2nd. So I have all the ones I took from vacation and recently as well. So I got those. And then I got to thinking, Twitter and Facebook and Instagram, once we got those, and I'll tell you a story about those in a second, once we got those back up, they still have pictures that we posted. So Twitter has the media page with all the pictures and GIFs that I posted over, I don't know how long they would have them, but they should probably have a good amount of my pictures that I posted, and hopefully I'll be able to, not all of them obviously, but hopefully I'll be able to move some of them back to my photo stream, my photo album. And Facebook will have ones also that I posted as well, and I'll be able to shift those back over. So hopefully I'll be doing that probably tomorrow, since we've got a nice 3-day weekend. Technically I have a 4-day weekend. We're going to talk about that a little bit too. So we still have that as a plus. And plus I have my texts that people sent me pictures of that I had shifted over to the photo stream, which are still there. I can do it again and put it back over the photo stream and get those pictures back. So it's not going to be 5,000. And there's some in there that I'm really upset that I'm no longer going to see. But I look on the bright side. It's September 1st. I have a new phone. My daughter's going to a new school. It's meteorological fall. It's time to start anew, because this is my season. People who watch this show know fall is my season. Technically, I know fall doesn't start till September 23rd, but it's September 1st. It's my season. From now till the end of the year, my time, my season. You can pretty much, with the exception of the birth of my son, which was technically late August, most of the good stuff that happened in my life happened in the last quarter of the year. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Hopefully it'll be a good thing. Hopefully we've got good stuff coming up. Hopefully that we've turned a corner and things start looking good. And hopefully I get these pictures taken care of and I'll just start anew fresh. A little depressed that I lost a lot of good pictures, but I can try to redo them, or I can just start with new ones and get a more realistic look at stuff and not keep going back to the well from a few years ago when I was a lot lighter and not as heavy and fat as I am now. So, case Ross Rock. Anyway, so that's what happened. And then the other thing that I wanted to hit about that as well, since this was a story I was going to talk about today, getting back into Twitter and YouTube and Facebook and all these new apps. Since they were shifted over, we still have to start over again. So we have to, put in our passwords and put our names and stuff like that and restart the apps again. But everything's still there. But luckily, I have all my passwords written down somewhere so I could remember what they all were. I had a problem getting back onto my Dylan Proco Twitter page because I didn't have the email address for the email password, I should say, for the email address that I used to set that up because I never use it. So I got it all worked out that I got a new password for that, and I've written that one down so I can go through that again. I'm deleting. I'm not, because I don't know how to get back to it. I had 2 other accounts. One of them's Jinx's. I'm not going back to those because I haven't been using them in ages. I might start Jinx's up again, but that might be a whole brand new account. Or if I can, I have the passwords and stuff like that somewhere, and email addresses. But again, I don't have the email passwords to start this. So I might just start a whole brand new account for Jinx if I decide to, because I hadn't really been using Jinx that much. So I might just say, heck with it. I'll stick with Dylan Lang and Dylan Proco, and that's all, because I don't need it anymore, because now I have 2. If I get to Twitter jail again, I can just use Dylan Proco or vice versa. But I'm not on Twitter as much as I used to be, so because that was during Sci-Fi Times when we had the movies. I would get into jail a few times, so to continue live tweeting, I had to use another account, so I created Jinx's account. But since then, Jinx really hasn't had any use for it, so I'm just sort of gonna. I can get rid of that. This might be the first time for you, and I'll probably send a message out. I'm not doing Snark Alex Fantasy Football this year. It doesn't seem like anybody was really interested last year. They did it, but there was just sort of, it wasn't a lot of excitement about it or whatever. So, and no one said, hey, what about fantasy football? So I'm probably not going to do fantasy football for Snark Alex this year, which is fine, because honestly, I have been losing interest in fantasy for the longest time. So let's go on that. But I got everything taken care of, so I'm pretty much, everything's back online. Actually, before the show started, I had to get back into YouTube, and I was having some issues with that. I had the password. I knew the password to get into YouTube, but I was having some issues playing the videos. But that's been taken care of, obviously, since I did Vertigo by U2 at the beginning of the show. So what are we talking about this week? We're talking about college football. There's some interesting stuff happened this week, today actually. We're going to talk some Harry Potter, because it's September 1st, why not? We're going to talk about something that's going to make me go and make you do the same thing as well. Some sex, because that sex sells. I'm telling you, sex is sells. I've got one sex story I know of, but still is up there. Weird Al, anniversaries. I'm going to try to do a review of the movie The Replacements. I'll do a quick one real quick, because football season, NFL football season starting, and I just watched it recently. Yeah, but some marriage stuff coming up. A new cell in the human brain has been discovered. A flux capacitor has actually been built, and has a very unique use for it. It's not time travel. I have an in dreams thing, which is kind of interesting. Some inventions. I think I got a lot of inventions this week, so we'll be covering a lot of invention stuff, and some Fortnite stuff, Lego stuff. Something happened on the International Space Station that you're going to want to find out about. A Doctor Who, former Doctor Who, has decided to join another big sci-fi franchise. What the hell was that? Oh, another invention. William Shatner is also, well, may as well, well, that's a lot of stuff. So we'll start with this one. William Shatner is going to be releasing a Christmas album this year. So that might be a fun thing to check out. I'm always on the lookout for new Christmas music. In fact, I have a Christmas song playlist that's 123 songs, and I keep adding to it. And I was like, you know what I should probably do? Cap it at 100, and then take any 23 I want and make a Christmas Eve playlist. So I have 2. So I might do that this year. So maybe we'll get some William Shatner singing Christmas songs, even though he's Jewish, right? Oh, well. No, Neil Diamond didn't stop Neil Diamond. He was Jewish. Literally, this happened literally after last week's show. So last week I did my show Sunday afternoon. My old one, when I started 5 years ago, my 5 year. Speaking of which, 5-year anniversary, September 15th, 14 days away, 2 weeks away. It's on a Saturday. Holy cow. Ooh, interesting. So my 5-year anniversary is in 2 weeks for this show. And I might cheat and do a double episode next week. And then that'll put me at 260 for the week after, which is where I needed to be. I cheat a little bit. You know, it's my show. I can do whatever I want. But this literally happened. It is Scotty. Scott Troutman says, William Shatner should never sing. I agree, Scott, but it might be fun just for the, wow, that's bad effect to it. We'll have to hear it, obviously. I'll listen to it. We'll see what it says. So literally, when I started the show 5 years ago, it was on a Sunday afternoon. I figured it was the best time to do it. I don't know why. I figured it just was the best time. I was going to be on the weekend sometime. I figured Saturday nights I'd be doing something. Maybe the sci-fi shows would be showing movies, so I really couldn't do it on Saturday nights. So Sunday morning or Sunday afternoon, I'd be able, if there was a sci-fi movie on the night previous, I could talk about on the show the next day, that type of thing. That was probably my mindset. Because 5 years ago, sci-fi was doing those movies around that time. So I was doing the show. I ended the show yesterday, or not yesterday, last Sunday. After it was a short one, so it was like 2:30, or maybe it was 1:30, 2 o'clock. It was like an hour and a half. So I started 12. It was like 1:30, 2 o'clock, is when I ended the show. And literally, once I shut the show down, and I went upstairs and I went to check, my emails to see or Twitter and Facebook to see what was going on. All over the place, Neil Simon has died. I was like, oh, man. First of all, that sucks that he died. And second, if I would have just looked at my phone during the show and looked at Twitter or looked at Facebook during the show, I could have done a breaking news, Neil Simon passed away. So Neil Simon passed away last Sunday after my show was when I saw it. It was probably before then, but the information didn't get to me till after I did my show. He was a playwright. Created I think his biggest play that everybody remembers him from is The Odd Couple, but he did Biloxi Blues, Brighton Beach Memoirs. I can't think of some other. He's done a ton of movies. Did he do Neil Simon's? He did some movies and he's done some other stuff like that. So Neil Simon is a prolific playwright. Has written a lot of a modern day playwright. 80s, 90s was his big time frame when he was popular, particularly the 80s. Broadway loves doing his shows. He was one of their guys, I think. He was a New Yorker, I believe. And his Brighton Beach Memoirs and Biloxi Blues is sort of a homage and love to his growing up in Brooklyn, I think was what it was. Or Brighton Beach, I guess that's near Brooklyn. I don't know New York. Anyway, so Neil Simon passed away. It's a shame. Broadway did what they always do when someone of Broadway caliber passes away. They darken the lights, which is always a cool tradition. I kind of like that. So we did that. Also on Sunday, because literally after I sat down, I saw that, I started seeing all these other news stories. Like, man, why couldn't I have just waited? Humans love dogs more than humans. Well, I guess if you have a dog, I suppose my kids love pointing out, doggy, doggy, doja. Doji is, or Doge is something, I guess, from a meme now that they look at on the internets. But yeah, humans love dogs more than humans. I can understand, I guess, because look, I mean, humans can be backstabbing bastards. Can't trust them. They're going to break your heart. They might be bad for you. Some might be good for you, but some might be bad for you, and they treat you bad. Dogs, for the most part, are your pal. All they want out of life is for you to be happy. They want to give you licks, and they want you to play with them, and they want you to clean up their poopies, and they want you to feed them and pet them and love them and brush them and give them baths. And they're very much more social animals than cats are. So they will love you unconditionally. And I guess that makes the most sense. I mean, dogs very rarely would break your heart. I mean, when they die, that's, that's the only time I could really think of, unless they're just really totally mean to you. But you know what? If they're totally mean to you, you can return them to a shelter and get one that you like better, which I'm not going to recommend, or you can get them to learn how to be better dogs or whatever. And you never know. They just might be the dog that they are, and just let them survive that way. So, I don't know, but it makes sense, in the end. Oh, yeah, this is kind of interesting. After a moment of silence for Aretha Franklin when she passed away, this was last week also, and I mentioned Aretha's death last week's show. But after a moment of silence for Aretha Franklin at a Detroit Tigers baseball game, because she's known for Motown and the Detroit sound, stuff like that, a rainbow appeared over the stadium as if she was watching down, says, "I see ya." And then at her funeral, that was earlier this week, there was a ton of pink Cadillacs outside the church where her funeral was being held. So that's kind of a neat little thing. But that rainbow thing, sometimes stuff like that, when that happens, it just makes you want to go, it's kind of interesting. Let's see, how many invention stories do I have? There's one there. No, that's art. That's not an invention. There's an invention too. I think I have a third one over here. Yeah, I think there's about 3 of them. Yeah, they're just right there. So I'll do those real quick. So invention convention time. The first one I want to talk about is a youngster. This is a kid, probably, I don't know, it looks like he was between the ages like 12 and 14, maybe younger. He invented Oasis, which is a device to protect children and animals from hot car deaths. That's a big news story nowadays during the summer, when people, for whatever reason, leave their animals or their kids in a hot car, and with the windows closed and all that stuff, and no engine running, just stuff like that in the hot sun. The sun beats down on the car and the heat increases exponentially inside the car. I mean, you all have experienced that. You go to work, you park your car, it's a hot sunny day, you go inside, you work for 8 hours or whatever, you come back outside, you open the car door, and it feels like a sauna, or you're walking into an oven. All of a sudden the sweat starts dripping down, and it's hotter inside the car than it is outside, because then you step back and you feel, oh my God, it's cool actually out here. It's like 90 degrees outside, but in the car it's like 110. So, and until you get the car started, and you either get the air conditioning running or you roll down the windows and blow the hot air out. So, but people, for whatever reason, leave animals and kids in hot cars, and that's just wrong in all kinds of ways. But this youngster, he invented a device, which is a fan that turns on in the car when the temperature in the car reaches a specific temperature. And it also alerts first responders that there is a child in the car. As I said, it was a youngster invented it. I don't know the logistics of it, how it's all going to work, but it's a great idea. And the fact that this kid is thinking about other people and not just him, and came up with, actually, to be honest, is a pretty good idea, particularly for a youngster. Go for it, man. I mean, I hope it gets taken care of. Okay, I was like, what the hell is that? That's kind of a weird story coming up a little later. A refrigerator has been invented that comes to you when you call. Yeah, just to make us more lazy, I suppose. Say you're sitting around watching the game or the movie or whatever, and you want to get another beer, or you want to get some water, or you want to get a soda. Or hell, if you want to get cheese or old pizza or whatever that's in the refrigerator, you have in there, food in the refrigerator, you just call for the refrigerator. Yo, refrigerator. Refrigerator will roll over to you. And you open it up, grab your soda, say goodbye or something like that, and it runs away again. Really, people, you can't get up off your fat asses to walk into the kitchen, open the refrigerator, and get something to drink, and come back in? Can't you wait for a commercial if you don't want to miss something? Or can you pause the movie? I don't know. But it's an invention. Fridge comes to you when called. Okay, then. What was the other one here? Where is that other one? Okay, here we go. The flux capacitor story. The scientist creates an actual flux capacitor. Now, for those who don't know what a flux capacitor is in a pop culture reference way, you got to see the movies Back to the Future 1, 2, and 3. And if you haven't seen it yet, go see it. Go see all three of them. You know, people hate on the third one. People hate on the second one. The first one is absolutely brilliant, yes. But I really think number 2 is underrated. And number 3 was a good capper, though it's not my favorite. Regardless, in this movie series, the flux capacitor is what makes time travel possible. So it's a fictional creation that just helps move the story along. Well, a scientist has actually created an actual flux capacitor. They're calling it only because it looks like the flux capacitor from Back to the Future. It's got the Y sort of shaped energy thing. But it does not help you travel through time. Instead, it controls, it'll help you control and direct microwave signals. It'll also help move particles and waves through solid objects. So basically, you could use it maybe to walk through walls or to send something through a block or something like that that's going to help do something. Again, they're still working on it, but it'll help you possibly walk through walls. It's going to help you do other. There's probably other types of things that I'm not even seeing because I'm not a scientist. But the flux capacitor is a real thing, and that's truth. A Lego Bugatti. So it's a Bugatti car, Bugatti Chiron, excuse me, an actual car made out of Legos that actually cars. So I don't know if everything's made out of Legos. Probably not if it actually cars, but the exterior is made out of Legos. So there you go. Why not? I've had like car stories the last 3 weeks. Last week was amphibious car. The week before that was transforming car. So why not? Maybe every week now I'll do a car story, because why not? It's you know, history's marching on and you're discovering all kinds of crazy stuff lately. Let's see what Scott responds to. My luck, I'd have one. It would malfunction, leaving me stuck inside the wall. The flux capacitor. Talking about that one. Yeah, like the, what is it, Edgar Allan Poe movie. You get walled in, but you're like, ah. The country of India, Indians, as it were, will be launching astronauts into space by 2022. Just in time for them to join up with Space Force. But no, it's good that India has decided it's time to explore space as well. We can't let the Russians and Americans be the only ones who can. And I think the Chinese have done some moon stuff as well. So why not? It's good for them. Space is big enough for everybody, so why not? Speaking of space, I thought this story is pretty interesting. A micrometeorite. So it's not like a massive, giant meteorite came in here. A micrometeorite, well, probably about the size of a pebble, if that, actually hit the International Space Station, which is in rotation above the Earth, out in space, and caused a hole in the hull of the ISS. It's not a very big one, so it's not like everyone got sucked out in outer space and they all died. No, it's a very small hole, but it's lowering the pressure and it's causing issues that, if not fixed, would have killed them eventually if they didn't fix it or they didn't know about this, but they discovered it. It's small enough that an astronaut, when they first found it, until they figured out what they were going to do to try to fix it at that time, temporarily, before they could go out and do a spacewalk and do an actual fix on the outside, an astronaut took his finger, stuck it in the hole, just like the kid at the dike in Holland, which stopped the water from coming out of the dam. this is the first human to touch space with his fingers, because he literally stuck his finger in a hole with the vacuum of space touching his finger. And it was good enough to, keep the pressure from dropping, because if they wouldn't have realized it, the pressure wouldn't have gotten dangerously low for them to cause death and stuff like that for like 18 days. But still, you don't want to deal with that. You want to figure it out now and not 18 days later and like, oh God, if we don't get this fixed in like an hour, we're going to die. So he stuck his finger in till they figured out. First they taped it up, and then they had this epoxy that they put in which sealed it, and the pressure started stabilizing again. But the epoxy is only going to hold for a little bit. It's not a permanent fix. So 2 days ago or yesterday, they actually did a spacewalk and went out on the outside, and they repaired the exterior of the ISS. So it's not going to be a problem anymore. So, but still, someone stuck their finger in the hole and they felt space. Take that as you want. Dripping water. I was going to drink a beer today, but my stomach was kind of off, so water is very delectable. I think I lost Scott. Damn. Oh, well. It's all right. It's 10 o'clock. He probably has stuff he's got to do. That's fine. Thanks for watching there, Scott. All right. What else we got? Weird Al Yankovic will be getting his own star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. And actually, he's not going to. He's already gotten it. He got it this week. And he made a plea at his speech that please do not pickaxe it or destroy it unless I do something really, really dumb. So he did that plea out there. And so congratulations, Weird Al. Everybody's like, why does Weird Al? Nope, still here. Oh, good. Yeah, you just phased out there for a second. Thanks for watching, Scott. Scott's my guy. He watches my show all the time when he can. So I appreciate that live. It's more fun live, isn't it? More fun for me anyway, but oh well. So he did that, and Weird Al is one of those guys that you're like, well, why does he get a star on the Hollywood Fame? Now, a star on the Hollywood Fame is not that difficult to get. You have to get like a certain amount of signatures on a petition, like 100,000 or something like that, and you also have to pay like $15,000 or $25,000, something like that, and they'll create a star for you. Now, I guess you also might have to have some sort of job in the industry, be it a musician, television star, movie star, whatever. You don't have to be like the biggest movie star of all time, like a Daniel Radcliffe. Speaking of Harry Potter stuff coming up, which we'll talk about in a few minutes and why I'm wearing this shirt. Daniel Radcliffe has a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Now, his only really claim to fame really is he was Harry Potter in 8 Harry Potter movies. He's done other movies, just never been as successful as the Harry Potter movies. Well, the President of the United States has one because it is, I guess, his reality TV stuff and so on and so forth. How's my good? So, good on that. Let's see, what else should we do here? Tudyk! Alan Tudyk! Great actor, good character actor, Firefly, Con Men. He was the voice of the rooster in Moana. He's done a whole bunch of stuff. Alan Tudyk has been cast as the main Doom Patrol villain in the new Doom Patrol television show, which will be airing on the DC streaming service, which we also have a confirmed date for that. And I just thought of it. It just literally clicked in my head like that. The DC streaming service will be available for you to order and will start up on September 15th, which is a Saturday, because September 15th is also Batman Day at local comic book stores. So if you go to your local comic book store on September 15th, you'll get a free Batman comic, and they'll probably have Batman sales all over the store and stuff like that. It's a way to think about Batman. There's going to be a Walking Dead one on October 13th, and there's one other one. I forget what it is, but we talked about that last week. So watch last week's episode again, and you'll see me talk about them. But this is something new. So the DC streaming service and Batman Day is the same day, September 15th. as my 5-year anniversary. So I just thought of that. That's crazy weird. So, but the DC streaming service is going to air the Titans TV show, which has been getting a lot of really bad press because of the costumes and the characters and stuff like that. Some of the costumes look good. Some of them look god-awful. I don't know. I'm not going to get the DC streaming service because it's just another cash thing that I have to pay for that I'm probably not going to watch all that often. I don't know what else they're going to do besides these new shows. Doom Patrol. The Doom Patrol show looks pretty good because last week I also mentioned that Brendan Fraser has been cast as the voice of Robot Man. Well, they've released also some pictures from Doom Patrol that's filming right now, and they have a actual Robot Man in a van, and it looks like Robot Man from the comics. I don't know if that's Brendan Fraser or if he's just going to be the voice and that's a stunt man. They actually showed some of the other characters, and they actually look really, really good. Now, Tudyk is going to be playing the bad guy. So that's all going to be starting up on the DC streaming service. Now, I don't think it's going to come out September 15th. I think the Doom Patrol show will probably show up a little later down the line. Swamp Thing show is going to get started also, working on that as well. So there's just a bunch of stuff that just I'm not interested to check it out, and just one less thing I don't need to get. There are way too many streaming services now who can afford all these. You're absolutely right, Scott. Now, the only one that I may even consider, again, I'm just considering it, probably not going to do it, is the Disney one. Now, I know that sounds, you're Disney. No, it's just because they're going to have the Disney movies, they have the Marvel movies, and Star Wars movies might even be on there too. But Disney has so much stuff that they can do a streaming service, and it's not going to be like, okay, what are you going to show now? Or we're going to see this movie again and again and again. No, because they've got a ton of stuff that they can show and take care of. Will I get it? Probably not, because again, I got to save my money. I've been cutting down on comics. I mean, I bought 2 weeks worth of comics today. I haven't bought comics in those 2 weeks, and then it was 2 weeks before then I bought my other comics as well. And who knows? We're in that time where I might only be able to buy comics now every 2 weeks, because it's when my wife has her paycheck thrown into mine, because my paycheck alone will not be able to pay for our expenses and all that stuff for 2 weeks, because basically I get paid weekly. So she got paid this weekend. She's not going to get paid again until she got paid this weekend. So not till the 15th, to the 14th, actually. So my paycheck is going to have to cover that I get this week, which is the 7th, is going to have to take care of stuff from the 7th through to the 15th. So it's about a week. And my paycheck's not a lot of money. So if we have bills, stuff like that, we're going to be low cash. So I have to sometimes, make sacrifices. I'm not going to get comics. So I'm probably not going to end up getting this Disney service, but we'll see. What? Woman. Oh. I figured I'll bring this up since I finally figured out what I freaking wrote here. Women are embracing facial hair more often. There were some pictures of women with beards, literal bearded women. And believe it or not, I think it's Beard Day. I'll talk about that and Check Eye Day later today, later in the show. But women are embracing facial hair. Now, I personally don't find it attractive. And also, I personally don't understand why some women like beards. My wife doesn't. So she even hates it when I don't shave for a day or two. She says it scratches her face when I try to kiss her or whatever. So I shaved today. So, yeah. I got a new shaver. I'm going to take a tangent on shaving because why not? I'm talking about beards. It's my show. I can do whatever the fuck I want. It's this, what is it? It was a brand I heard about on the internet. I can't remember what the name of it's like a man's name. It's like John's or Peter's or Frank's or something like that. And it's, it'll come to me eventually. But, buying razors for men, I don't know how it is for women because I don't buy it for my women. My wife buys her own stuff. Razors are expensive as hell. Now, when you buy a regular razor from like Gillette or something like that, you get like 2 cartridges that go with it. That might be like $15. And that's not too bad. You get the razor, you get the little container, and then you get 2 of these more Harry's. Yes, Thank you, Scott. It makes sense. Harry. Yeah. Thank you, Scott. See, that's why I need more people to watch the show so they can help me when I have these brain farts. So Gillette's, it's like $15. You can get a razor and 2 replacement cartridges. So you get the razor, you get the replacement cartridges, and you get like a little base to put it on. And then once you've used, the 3 razors, you're going to need to get more. So you go to the grocery store to buy a pack of, like, say, 4 razors. It's like $20 for 4 razors. Now, don't even get me started if you decide, 4 is not going to be enough, because I'm going to keep buying this like every couple months, whatever, because it takes a little while for it to go down, but still it goes down quicker. You only have 4 of them. So if you go up higher to 6 or 8, it gets to be like $25, $30 just for razors. Now, if you go to like a Sam's or BJ's or a Costco or whatever, something like that, you can get like a nice like 24 pack of razors for like $50. That's actually not bad. But if you just want a normal razor replacement, it's going to take forever. So not going to take forever. It's going to cost a lot of money. Now, Harry's, thank you again, Scott, is one of these online ones where I hear about on the radio all the time, and these guys, they bought a German razor factory, so they send the razors direct to you. There's no middleman, so it doesn't jack up the prices. So it keeps the prices low for the razors. So I think for the razor set and 2 replacement razors, it's like $10. But then the good part is when you need replacement razors, they're like $2 or something like that. So you get a box of 4 for like $2, something like that. Now, they used to only have it so you could only get it through the mail or Amazon or whatever. Go to their website, order it, they'll ship it to you. Target actually has them. And I saw that about a month or so ago when I was looking for something else. And I saw they had this display of Harry's stuff. They had the replacement razor blades. They had the razors. So I was like, I need a new one anyway, because I just run out of my last razor for Gillette. And so I was like, God, I'm either going to have to buy one from the grocery store. It's going to be like $25, or grow a beard, because I don't have a membership to BJ's anymore, because Costco is opening in September, which might be September 15th, actually. Think about it. It's going to be opening in September near us, which is something we've been wanting forever, because we like Costco better than the other ones. Go figure. We only know about it through my wife's family, because they go to Costco all the time. But we're getting our own. That's going to be right down the street from us, which is going to be great. So the first day we'll go in there, we'll get our membership, and we'll join it. Then it might have been okay then, but I said, you know what, I need to get these. So I can come to Target, I can get the replacement razors for like $5, $2, whatever it is, and I'll be fine. So I got it, and I got the razor, and it's a shave. It's a shave, but it just seems to me that the shave isn't as close as it used to be. Now, I guess the reason why is because Harry's razors only have like 4 razor blades, maybe 5, but like the Gillette ones I've been using have like 7. So you get that really, really extra close and smooth shave. But it's not bad right now, but I just feel it feels like that it doesn't do a really clean, close shave for me. And that might be something I might have to think about in the future. Do I want to really keep up with Harry's, or should I just go to Costco, see how much a set costs? If a set for a razor and like 20 blades, 25 blades is going to be like $50. That might be worth it, So, and then just the replacement blades will be less, because these big box stores are a lot cheaper when it comes to stuff like that. I mean, that's why we did BJ's for so long, is because we bought the diapers for the kids from them, because they're so much cheaper for more. Let's not say cheaper, but they're about the same price as you get them at the grocery store, but you get a lot more. So like at the grocery store, you get maybe like, 12, maybe 24. You can get like 50 to 100 at one of these big box stores for about the same price, and the same type, same brand also, Pampers or whatever. The good news is we don't have to worry about that anymore, because my daughter's going to 6th grade, my son's going to 4th grade, so don't worry about it. So yeah, women are embracing beards. Hey, it's your body. Do what the hell you want. I don't care. I just don't particularly find it attractive. That's just me. Matt Smith, former Doctor Who, is going to be joining the cast of Star Wars Episode 9 in an undisclosed role. The minute I saw him, I was like, he's going to play Ray's dad, isn't he? Because he looks a lot like Ray. So we'll see here. He probably isn't, but he might play something. But there he is. Matt Smith is going to be. And I'm getting excited also because Doctor Who, the new season Doctor Who with the female doctor, is going to be starting up real soon. I'm going to be getting right on that. I'm going to start to watch that again with my family again and getting back into Doctor Who. So I'll probably be bringing that up a little bit more in the show once that comes out. So I'm excited for that. Let's see what else is going on here. Farmers, this is a nice story. Farmers stand in silence at an auction so a young man can buy back his farm. So, you know, it's one of these things where something happens and this young man loses his farm, whatever, for whatever reason. Really probably didn't, if these guys are doing what they're doing, probably through no fault of his own, just either something bad happened or he can't afford it or whatever. So the bank or whatever closed down the farm and decided to put it up for auction. But this is the good part. All the farmers in this area, in that area where that's taking place, they know the story. They might have even known the situation. They might have had a situation similar to that happen to them before. And they decided all together, to hell with the banks. We'll come, like we're going to auction, you know, we're going to come out there. So they think that they're going to try to get big money back. And we're going to have all these farmers who are going to try to you know, outbid themselves and pay lots of money to get this land. And we're not going to do it. We're just doing that just to make sure that nobody else bids on it and lets this guy bid for whatever he can afford. $1,000, $500, whatever. So he gets his farm back. K-Show. Good job, guys. See, it's not all terrible in the world, and that's a good story for September 1st because September 1st is good. Do you want to know why September 1st is good? For a couple of reasons why September 1st is good. A, it's meteorological fall, which I've already talked about. I love me some fall. This quarter of the year is my absolute favorite of the year, and I am so stoked to see what's going to be coming this quarter and so excited to see what's going on. It is also the return of the NFL. I'm a huge NFL fan, obviously. You've heard me talk about my Baltimore Ravens a bunch of times. They made their cuts. We have 3 quarterbacks. Robert Griffin III, who showed himself to be really, really good and a very mature. Robert Griffin III is now our 3rd quarterback. He's going to mentor Lamar Jackson. And if something, God forbid, happens to Joe Flacco, you bring in RG3. I'll be okay with him running the offense for a few games while Joe recovers or whatever, if it's only for a few games. If he's out for the season, let RG3 run it for a little bit, and if he gets into trouble, you bring in Lamar. End of story. I like it. I love it a lot. So our team is set. Now they're going to be focused on Game 1, which is September 9th against the Buffalo Bills at home. Game 1. Actual Game 1 of football is going to be Thursday night. The Eagles are going to take on the Falcons, so it's good. I'm going to try to get MJ Com back on this. We're going to talk some football. We'll probably talk comics again also. There's a lot of stuff going on. Maybe sometime this month I'll get back into that and also get into Jerry Fletcher and I getting back to our list show as well. She's had a crazy summer with her rebuilding her house, basically. We can talk about that as well. So we got that upcoming in September. Hey, why not? My 5-year anniversary is rolling through. Was good. So we have that, but September 1st, 1996, which is what? 22 years ago? Yeah. 22 years ago, the Baltimore Ravens played their first regular season football game. They had played preseason games already, but this is the first one that counted, and they beat the Oakland Raiders 19-17. I'm never going to forget that one. Their first game as Ravens, they won. That was an interesting team to watch. They turned out to be 4-12 that year, but it was good to see flashes of, let me see, 2 MVP or 2 Hall of Famers, some guy named Jonathan Ogden and some guy named Ray Lewis doing some stuff there, Hall of Famers. First 2 people we drafted on the Ravens in 1996, both first-round picks, both in the Hall of Fame. Gee, how awesome is that? But I remember that game distinctly. It was at Old Memorial Stadium before it tore down. They were building the new stadium downtown next to Camden Yards. I've already gone over the whole Ravens thing, and we might even get into it again with MJ when we start talking some football. But that's kind of cool. That was the first game in NFL history for the Baltimore Ravens. That counted. Why else is September 1st good? Oh, geez, there's a couple of reasons why. Everyone knows my immense crush on Sarah Michelle Gellar. And I also know that she is happily married to Freddie Prinze Jr., who I actually like also because he's a comic guy, gamer guy, sporty guy, and he's a good guy, all-around good guy. He and Sarah Michelle Gellar celebrate their anniversary today. 16 years. They've been married They've been married 1 year longer than Dawn and I. We are celebrating our 15th anniversary on October 4th of this year. But they also have 2 kids. They have a boy and a girl also. I have 2 kids, a boy and a girl. But we had kids first because Noelle is 11, is going to be 12 in December. And Noah just turned 9. Sarah and Freddie have a girl I'm not going to name because I probably shouldn't, who is the same age as Noah, and a boy who is like 3 years younger than her. So I like them both. And so now my new dream is that Noah ends up dating and possibly marrying Sarah and Freddie's daughter. And they'd be my in-laws. That'd be awesome. How awesome would that be? I talked about this with Jerry Fletcher the other day. Not the other day, a few months ago. We were doing one of our top 10 lists. And it was just, it's like, you know what? You got to think about this a second, because Dawn and I's anniversary of our first date is September 29th. And we've been married almost 15 years, October 4th. And it just makes you think, when you were a kid, 11-year-old, 11, almost 12, like my daughter, who's going to be 12 in December, or 9 years old, my age my son is now, that there's somebody, you would hope, that'd be around the same age as them, that is out there right now, who is the same age or close to them in age, who's going to turn out to be their husband or their wife. Or, wife, husband, doesn't matter. Whatever they want to do is fine. But there's somebody, there's somebody very well could be out there. Now, I know there are people who don't have their somebodies, but just think about this. There could be somebody out there right now, the age of 9, the age of 12, who eventually will become their husband and or wife. Doesn't that make you blow your mind? Because that's when you start getting into things about where would you go if you could time travel, that type of thing, or what would you do if you could time travel, or you were able to. Another dream that I've had sometimes, where, because I can control my dreams, when you're falling asleep, you can start running scenarios in your head and you can control them. Eventually, they take off on their own. I used to have one where I would dream about what I would do if I was able to go back and inhabit my body at the age of 9, 10, 11, 12. But with all my knowledge that I have now intact there, how would I change things up? Would I go, say at the age of 9, to see if I go down to Richmond and run into, oh my goodness, there's my wife, who is also 9 years old. Just think about that. Who's to say that it couldn't happen? Who's to say that Sarah and Freddie's daughter might turn out to be my daughter-in-law one time? It could happen. You never know. But congratulations to them. They are actually one of the Hollywood couples that I literally would really be despondent about if they broke up, because they worked really well together. 16 years is a long time for them, and they seem to be continually being happy. So I want them to stay married forever. I know I'm not going to have a chance at all anymore with either of them, but I like them as a couple. And so you move on to the next step. Maybe they'll be my in-laws. How cool would that be? You lost your mind, Dylan. You've lost your mind. And also, the big thing that happened September 1st. It's back to Hogwarts Day. Fans of the Harry Potter series, the books and the movies, September 1st is the day the students go back to Hogwarts for the whole rest of the year. They get off for winter break and some other stuff as well. But they're back there now. It's England now, so they're sleeping. They're getting ready to do their first classes of the day. Maybe, you know, it's if they follow weekend protocol, maybe they're just going to get used to their new surroundings, meet their new friends, you know, meet Hagrid and all that stuff. And it's always fun to think about this stuff because J.K. Rowling created such an incredible world that it makes people really excited about it. Now, I know I'm wearing a Hufflepuff shirt. I am a Hufflepuff. I've taken the sorting things, and I've had two sorts. I've had one put me in Slytherin and one put me in Hufflepuff. Now, I choose Hufflepuff because Slytherin, I have no ambition in my life. And that's like one of the keystones of being a Slytherin is ambition. I have zero ambition in life. I'm lazy. I'm nice to everybody. I want to be everybody's friend. That's what Hufflepuff is. And I'm proud to be a Hufflepuff. And I will stay a Hufflepuff. However, I also know that that's English and I'm not English. So I wouldn't really, even if Hogwarts existed, I wouldn't be able to go there. I'd be going to Sagamore or whatever the hell this one is. I should probably do some more research into the American School of Magic, which was revealed in the Fantastic Beasts movie a couple of years ago. Do some more research in that, and I haven't sorted myself in that one yet. So I should probably do that, and maybe I can get a T-shirt for that, because I think they probably would have them. But for now, I'm a proud Hufflepuff. Now, my daughter and my wife are both Ravenclaws. I know that, and I think they both took the courses and they both got Ravenclaw. My son hasn't taken the course, but if I had to think about my son, he'd be one of two. He'd either be Gryffindor or he'd be Hufflepuff as well. So I don't know. We'll see. So, yep, September 1st is when the students go back to Hogwarts. I would assume it'd be the same thing about them going back to Skarmory or whatever the name of the American schools. I really should do some research on that and find out what that is and find out what house I'm in there. But I know for a fact I'm a Hufflepuff, and I'm proud of it. And so I always like to read the Back to Hogwarts things, and I have a head canon in my head that, you know, one time, you know, because J.K. Rowling says, yeah, we were all, you know, for those who keep complaining they never got their Hogwarts letter, yeah, you did. We were all at Hogwarts all together. We went to school together. I would be an alumnus. If you went when you were 11 years old, actually, that would mean Noelle would be starting her second year at Hogwarts. If you were 11 years old is when you started Hogwarts, and it's 7 years, so you'd be done by you were 18. So I would have started at Hogwarts when I was 1984. 1984 to 1991, I guess. 84, 85, 86, 87, 88, 89, 90, 91, 1991. So I'm an alumnus, in my head canon, I'm an alumnus from Hogwarts, Hufflepuff, 84 to 91, which actually is the time frame, I think, where Voldemort was gone, because Harry was born 81, 83, something like that. Let's see. I think 91 they had him be 11, so 1980 I think they had him be born. Because the timing is all weird. If you don't know this, the timing is weird because 1998, because it's the 20th anniversary of Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone being printed. If you don't know this, check out. There's like a Wikipotter or Potter Wiki or something like that, or any of the Harry Potter stuff. 1998, which is when the first book came out, detailing the first year of Harry Potter's life at Hogwarts, is actually the last year. It takes place, is 1998, takes place during book 7. Now, book 1 came out in 1998. But 1998 is when the Battle of Hogwarts actually took place. So that's kind of a weird thing. So you got to think about that. The Battle of Hogwarts was 20 years ago. Now, that was back in May, and there was a whole big deal about that on Twitter and stuff like that. That it was the 20th anniversary of, you know, the Battle of Hogwarts and stuff like that. So that's happened. So that's just one of those kind of weird timing things that J.K. Rowling plays with that. So I would have graduated just as Harry, Hermione, and Ron came in. They would be the new class. Maybe our class would overlap maybe 1 year, that 91. Not exactly sure quite how that worked. I don't think so. I think I would have graduated in May of 91, and they were coming in September of 91. So I think we wouldn't have overlapped. So it was one of the things where I finished my schooling, and he came in, and his friends came in and had their adventures. So kind of interesting thing. So I always had that headcanon that I was an alumnus and 20 years ago and stuff like that. But again, I'm not English or Scottish or anything like that. And I wouldn't probably be able to go to Hogwarts. I'd go to Skarmory or whatever the heck Skarmory is, a Pokemon. I don't know what it's called. So September 1st is always Return to Hogwarts, always a big deal. Sci-Fi Channel, which now has the rights to the Harry Potter movies, they're going to air all of them tomorrow. I think they might have aired them all today too, but I think I saw ads for tomorrow as well, which makes sense. And maybe it's time to do a reread. It's been a few years since I've read all the books again, so maybe it's time to do a reread, because it's always fun to go back and do a reread of those books because they are so well written. And Fantastic Beasts 2 comes out in November, and I'm excited for that, despite the fact that everybody's complaining about Johnny Depp being in it. I do not condone what he did. It was terrible, and he shouldn't have done it. But I don't think you should. You should still go see Fantastic Beasts. That's just me, though. I'll probably get lambasted somewhere on Twitter about this. Anyway, so Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone came out this month, or this year anyway, but September 1st is always when you go back to Hogwarts. So there was a big old back to Hogwarts hashtag in Twitter, as it is every year, and fun stuff. So that's why I like September. September is great. Speaking of Pokemon, because I was saying Skarmory instead, it's our Pokemon Go minute, or 5 minutes, or whatever. Pokemon beats out Star Wars and Marvel for the highest grossing media franchise. So they have more money than Star Wars. They have more money than Marvel. So better watch out. Disney might be saying, hey, you know what, maybe we should buy that too. But I like Pokemon Go. Pokemon Go continually surprises me. We are in the midst of the Celebi Challenge. I talked about this last week. It's a mythical challenge that you have to go and do a bunch of research tasks over, it's like 24 different research tasks you have to do to get to catch Celebi. Well, my lovely wife, who is the bigger Pokemon player of all of us, she got her Celebi today. So congratulations to her. I'm still only on like day 5, so I've still got like 3 days to go, and there's still a lot more to do. But the next one, once I finish this one, the next one's going to be at least 7 days, because I got to hit a Pokestop once every 7 days, and then get easier from that point on. So I got a little ways to go. So I'll probably get my Celebi maybe by the end of the month, or maybe by the 15th. Who knows? You'll find out definitely if I get on the 15th. But so again, they keep changing stuff up. Now the new boss that you get when you finish all your research tasks is going to be Entei. It was Raikou for a while, but now it's Entei. There's more shinies. I caught 3 shiny Wingulls today, so they are out there. Shiny Growlithe are out and about now. And there's more encounters. You could get stuff that are shiny if you finish research tasks. And apparently it looks like this weekend is the Safari event in Japan, and the whole world had to do a bunch of tasks in order to unlock Moltres Day and get Stardust stuff all next week, more Stardust stuff, and we all succeeded. So congratulations. We will probably get our Moltres Day on the 8th of September, so that'll be good. So I'll probably talk about that next week. And I think that's it about Pokemon. Let's see. Should we do let's just do the art piece. Artist is going to launch an artificial star. I guess it's going to launch it into orbit, and it's going to be circling the Earth, I guess. And I think maybe this is the one that has the lights on it that you'll be able to see when it circles when it rotates around the Earth. I'd heard stories that they were going to be doing this, and then I hadn't heard anything since that point. Maybe this is that story. So they're going to release, somehow they're going to release it into space and it's going to get it into orbit around the Earth, and it's going to be like a bright lit object circling the Earth, so you'll actually be able to see it sometimes. Pinky responding to the other Lifetime movie club, or the Midnight Movie Club. So there's that. So I think that's what that one is. Yes, here's the head. Here's the face palm of the day. Oh, and I got to talk about this. This is the big story. So I'll do the face palm of the day, and then the big story for the first one. We've been an hour and a half. Oh, about the first hour. For the first hour. Are you ready, Scott? You're going to do this simultaneously with me. When I'm going to tell you to do this, I want you to face palm yourself as well. Millions of Americans truly believe, here it comes, that chocolate milk comes from brown cows. All right. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Face palm, Scott. And everybody at home. Millions of Americans believe chocolate milk comes from brown cows. What the? If I was president, I would put all my freaking money into education. Chocolate milk does not come from brown cows. Regular, unpasteurized milk, white as paper or the clouds, comes from the cows. Sadly, Scott's not the least bit surprised. You know, neither am I, to be honest. Look at the state of our world we are right now, and the belief that kids also were eating Tide Pods thinking it was cool. Yeah, I'm not surprised either, but come on. My 11-year-old and my 9-year-old will probably look at me and go, what? Chocolate milk comes from chocolate syrup or chocolate powder, depending on your preference, that you put in milk and you stir up. I should have had chocolate milk to drink. I'd be like, see, this didn't come from a brown cow. Ugh. Speaking of stupid, I don't think there's anything as stupid as that right now. Well, maybe not, but maybe there is. This one is kind of disturbing. I think I'm going to talk about this with MJ when we get back into the comic world. So we're going to do a comic story, but this is a bad one, though, Scott, and everybody else who listening to me. Listen to this. This is ridiculous. Judge rules that there can only be one Comic-Con, San Diego. San Diego, I guess the people who run the San Diego Comic-Con, they saw that there was a Salt Lake City Comic-Con. And they said, wait a second. Maybe there was something else to it. I don't know. Maybe they didn't like the Salt Lake City people. Or maybe they used the same fonts or whatever. I'm not exactly sure. But they called it the Salt Lake City Comic-Con. So San Diego Comic-Con was like, whoa, 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 no, you're not going to do that. So they sued the Salt Lake City Comic-Con. And a judge said, you're right. San Diego was awarded $20,000 in damages in a suit against the Salt Lake City Comic-Con. Now, this is disappointing to me for a couple of reasons. One, basically every comic book convention, Comic-Con, calls itself Comic-Con. New York Comic-Con, Baltimore Comic-Con. There's Hawaii, like Comic-Con, something new. Like all these Long Island Comic-Con, Texas Comic-Con. They call it Comic-Con because it's comic convention. It's to let people know it's a comic book convention. And one person should not, or one group should not have the right to the name comic convention. Yes, you are the biggest comic convention, but you are not the only one, San Diego. Now, this pisses me off a little bit. It's still on my bucket list to go see to San Diego Comic-Con to see what the big deal to do is about it. But you know what? This still freaking pisses me off because what's going to stop them now? Say, hey, we just won against Salt Lake City Comic-Con. Baltimore Comic-Con is coming up at the end of September, 28th, 29th, and 30th. Why don't we sue them? Maybe we'll get some more money. And they'll have to change the name also. Oh, and look at this. New York thinks that they can be as big as us. Theirs is coming in October. They called theirs a New York Comic-Con. Let's sue them also. Maybe we'll get even more money than Baltimore and Salt Lake City combined. Oh, wait, Texas has got one. Let's go for sue them also. Hell, every state has a Comic-Con, and they call it Comic-Con. For the most part, there's Heroes Convention and Dragon Con, which is where Sicko's at right now. And there's some other ones that have, I think the Chicago Comic-Con is CE6 or something like that now. So it's not really Comic-Con anymore. But what is going to stop them from doing that? They were successful this one time. Why won't they be successful another time? Now, unless there's something else to the story, maybe the Salt Lake City Comic-Con used the exact same font as the San Diego Comic-Con, and that's what's pissing them off. If that's the case, then I can see maybe being a little upset about that. But if it's because there can only be one Comic-Con, seriously, every comic book convention in the country for the most part, and even those outside the world, they also call themselves Comic-Cons, are now open to be sued by the San Diego Comic-Con. And they have a precedent that says, hey, they said we won. They said there can only be one. So we should be able to sue whoever we want to, and we should win because there's a precedent. And it very well might happen. And it is the stupidest thing there is. It's almost up there with winning a lawsuit against McDonald's for burning yourself badly with hot coffee. That's a true thing also. Woman bought a coffee, hot coffee, put it in her lap while driving, stops the car suddenly, whatever, the top wasn't put on properly, it popped open, the scalding hot coffee burns her legs. She sues McDonald's and she wins. Coffee is hot. Put it in the cup holder, for God's sakes. If you don't have a cup holder, well, suffer the burn and move on and realize that maybe I shouldn't put it between my legs. Or maybe I shouldn't get coffee in the morning. Or maybe I should get one of those coffee containers, make my own damn coffee, and put it in one of those that has a tighter seal on it so that if it does fall, it won't burn me. So far, there hasn't been any other news about San Diego wanting to sue New York or Baltimore, which are the next like two big ones coming up. But it makes a bad precedent, and we need to fix it. I don't know how we're going to do it. Oreos are coming out, and this is not a Onion story. This is an actual, as far as I know, because it's been picked up by a few other websites. Oreos are now going to be releasing hot chicken wing flavored. Oh, sorry, not hot chicken wing. Yeah, hot chicken wing and wasabi flavored Oreos. First of all, it doesn't make any damn sense. Cookies are dessert. It needs to be sweet. Maybe a little spicy if you want the cinnamon in there, maybe a little bit. But wasabi flavored Oreos? Chicken wing flavored Oreos? What in the hell is the matter with you, Oreo? There's a million other flavors you could use. What's next? Avocado flavored Oreo? Come on, man. Really? So what you're saying is I missed my opportunity to sue the company that made my glass travel coffee mug for cutting me when I fell down the steps 2 years ago. Yeah, pretty much there, Scott. Shards of glass cut you, man. You just gotta be more careful. I'm glad you're okay, though. Wasabi flavored Oreos, really? Hot chicken wing flavored Oreos, really? Yeah. Stick with sweeter flavors. Like the Rocky Road one's actually really good. The peanut butter pie one is really, really good. The new strawberry shortcake one you did is really good. What's the crappy one you released I didn't like? The cherry cola one's awful. I don't like that one. The kettle corn one is actually really, really good. I really like that one. Now, you'd think that that wouldn't be a good one, but actually it is. It's got more of a caramel note to it, which makes it more sweet. And it's got kind of like a pop rock typey thing in there. But it's not overly sweet, but it's got that caramel sort of flavor going for it. So it's actually pretty good. So if you can get out there and look for the kettle corn before it's gone, because they're going to start bringing in the Halloween ones, I think, soon. There's like a candy corn flavored one, which actually I think I've had before. Isn't actually too bad because I like candy corns. I know there's people that don't, but I know there's some there, and I know there's probably some other ones I'm missing. But there's going to be some new Halloween ones coming out. But wasabi and hot chicken wings, seriously, no. Here's to what the frig. Said the F word already earlier. I can only say it once in my show. What the frig stories. 2 of them. 1, Neil Young marries Daryl Hannah. Now, I guess that's not too what the frig. It is if you what the frig. When did this happen? It seems just kind of an odd couple. And an interesting one, I guess. I don't know. Neil Young and Daryl Hannah. I don't know. It seems like kind of a weird. When I saw it, I was like, really? What the frig? So I guess that's okay. But still, it's sort of it caught you off guard. It's like, actually, there's 3 what the frig stories. I just saw one other one. Wile E. Coyote movie. Do we really need a Wile E. Coyote movie? Now, I'm thinking it's going to be animated. I'm hoping it's going to be animated, and not like Jungle Book, like Coyote versus a like Jungle Book looking Roadrunner. Because Roadrunners are not at all like the Roadrunner we see in the cartoon. Because I actually saw one yesterday at Hershey Park. A little guy. He's about this big. He's got the long tail in the back, but he's small. He's not tall like Roadrunner is. I hope it's animated. And even then, it's like, okay, why do we need a Wile E. Coyote movie? Has anyone been out there screaming for a Wile E. Coyote movie? When I was younger, that was the cartoon that my mom didn't want me to watch, is the Wile E. Coyote and Roadrunner film or cartoon. So I didn't get a chance to watch a lot of them when I was younger. And it's okay, because to be honest, I'm looking at them now like, okay. Someone made a good point, though, is that they wish Wile E. Coyote would be remembered more not for his inventions that didn't work, but for his fantastic artwork of tunnels and rocks. For some reason, I could see Jim Carrey playing a live-action version of Wile E. Coyote. That's actually not a bad take, Scott, to be honest. I mean, I guess you could do maybe a motion capture sort of thing and have, like, that could be something similar like they did, I guess, with Jungle Book, is like a motion capture type of thing where you have someone standing. And that might actually not be, now I think about it, that's actually not a bad idea for casting. He would do a pretty good job of a Wile E. Coyote type. And still, despite that, did you really want a Wile E. Coyote movie? Not really. Here's the one that I just saw. That's another what the frig story. A grown adult man has decided to live his life as a dog. Timed it perfectly. Collar and all. He's dressed, I saw a picture of him, he's dressed in a full-body Dalmatian costume. And it's a picture of him sitting like a dog on the sofa next to what I'm assuming is his girlfriend or his wife, who I guess is all in on this as well. Now, I don't know if they have some sort of weird bestiality thing going on where he is having sex with her in the costume, doggy style. Or if he sleeps in a basket and drinks water and food from a dish and goes for walksies and takes shits out in public. It didn't really go into much detail, but apparently this person is dressed in a full Dalmatian furry type of costume with a collar and everything and wants to be treated like a real dog. Well, that's not something I want to ever witness when his wife, girlfriend takes him outside into his business. Not like Gronk, right? Gonk, I'm sorry, not like Gonk. Terrible. You know what? He's probably one of the guys that believes chocolate milk comes from brown cows. Anyway, Alec Baldwin has joined the cast of The Joker with Joaquin Phoenix. Oh, wait. Breaking news. Now he's not in it anymore. Again, I've talked about how much I think a Joker movie is dumb, unneeded, and this one's completely not even in the DCU universe, movie universe. It's its own entity, its own little out there movie, and it's got Joaquin Phoenix in it, and it had Alec Baldwin at one time, and now Alec's like, maybe not, and left. So he joined and then left, like all within a few days. So I don't know what the situation is with that. So they're going back to square one, I guess. Let's see. Oh, Fortnite stories here. Two of them. The Fortnite Cube, which I talked about last week, that just appeared in the game, now has low gravity dome around it. So again, I was talking about I don't play Fortnite. My son doesn't play Fortnite. But the fact is that the creators tend to be making the game interesting by adding these little quirks that affects everybody who plays it, no matter if you're in Japan, New Zealand, or in America, or Canada, or Mexico, or wherever. That everyone goes, hey, what is going on with this? And they all get views of this cube with their low gravity dome around it. So, interesting. I'll keep updated if I hear anything else about it. Let's see. We have... Oh, and the other Fortnite thing is I talked about this last week also when I was doing Fortnite, that my kids, they don't play Fortnite, but they do the Fortnite dances, which include the floss and there's a few other ones. I can't think of the names of them. There's some crazy ones, and my son just bops out on them just out of nowhere for no reason. My daughter does it sometimes too. It's a current thing in the elementary school, middle school thing, and we'll see if that continues. Well, now there's a actual Fortnite dance class which can be taken in the UK, all ages. So if you're a kid and you want to learn how to do the Fortnite dances better, there you go. And that's a pretty neat idea, I guess. It's a way to get kids interested in dance class, I suppose, and maybe they like it so much that they have a good teacher. The teacher's like, hey, you know, if you like this, why don't you try hip-hop, or why don't you try this and that? Or there are a lot of these are hip-hop moves. So, hey, why don't you just take the next step and do this? And you got your more dancers there. So let's talk about a little college football. I've only got a few more things to go, and then we're going to get out of here. So it's not going to be an hour and a half. It's going to be closer to my 2-hour usual show. So that's pretty interesting, I guess. So bear with me, Scott. I got just a few more little things I got to deal with, including the sex story, but I'll wait till after 11 o'clock on that one. College football. Now, I've never been a real big follower of college football. Now, when my school, Albright College, played football on Saturdays, and they were at home, I would go to a couple games. Not every one, but every once in a while I was like, you know what, I may as well go to one and just support my team and stuff like that. Always went to homecoming, obviously, because that's the big game. So my team is not they're never going to play anyone big, like any of the top 25 teams in college football or any of these other like Notre Dame's or teams that you know all about. No, they'll play people in their division, include stuff like who they play, Delaware Valley and Alvernia and Stevenson down the road from me. They actually are in the same division as the college right down the street from me. So they come to Stevenson every once in a while. So I could go watch an Albright football game at Stevenson if I wanted to. Or any game, really, because I saw an ad for volleyball, I think it was this weekend or next weekend. Albright's going to be in town for that at right down the road from here is the college. So, they lost their first game. They've been playing pretty good lately this year. They start off on the wrong foot. It happens. It's only game one of 6, 8, 9, something like that. But I have connections to other college football ones, and I like to keep an eye on it. Now, I'm not obsessive about it. Like I have a guy I work with who's a huge Clemson fanatic, and so he watches all the Clemson stuff. And he was real excited. Clemson had a really good game today. They destroyed everything. My brother-in-law is a Virginia Tech guy. They're playing tonight or tomorrow or something like that. So he'll be watching that. Excited about that. But I have connections to a couple of colleges. One is Maryland, University of Maryland. It's the local big college here in Maryland. They moved to the Big Ten. They've won a national championship before in my lifetime, actually 2002, actually. And Dawn, she got her master's from there, or almost got her master's. That's right. She hasn't quite finished her master's, but she was going there for the longest time. Her dad went to University of Maryland, and I've had lots of friends who, when they left high school, went to University of Maryland. Maryland is having a rough time right now. A student athlete was died by heat stroke or heat exhaustion or whatever back in May when they were starting their practices. And the reason why he died, they're saying, is because the training staff did not know he had that situation, and they were calling him names and like saying, all right, bring that loser in here, drag him in here. And they didn't take his temperature. They didn't put him in cold water to recover him. And he eventually died in the hospital due to overheating. So they got into trouble for that. There's an investigation going on for that. And then while they were doing this investigation, they discovered that there is a toxic, they called it a toxic working relationship between the coach and the players. The coach and his staff supposedly berate players, abuse them, not like sexually, but like hit them with stuff and throw things at them. I think one guy wrote that a trainer threw a barbell at, one of the hand barbells at a player. Could have hurt him badly. And also the coaches was pushing them to run a lot and do a lot more, and just pushing them and pushing them and pushing them. The coach of University of Maryland has been put on suspension, and a bunch of his staff has been put on suspension as well. Some have been fired. The offensive coordinator under this guy was not indicted, and he's actually, from what I've heard, a pretty good guy. He is now the coach of Maryland. So they've had all this kind of stress and stuff going on, and they started their season off today at home, where they played at the Redskins Stadium, which isn't that far from University of Maryland, against a ranked team, I think Texas, which is ranked number 22. And no one was expecting Maryland to win that game because of all the stuff that's been going on there. And plus, they're not as good of a team as like the top 25 in the country. Well, guess what? Maryland beat them 34-29. So at least by 2 scores. No, by 1 score. Because if they would have scored, it would have been 36. Never mind. So they won. They beat a ranked team. So we'll see if they can continue that with all this stuff happening to them behind the scenes. The team's still been practicing. This new coach is bringing different stuff and not making it as toxic as supposedly as it was. So there's investigations ongoing with that, and they're probably going to be there for a little while. So we'll find out the results of that later. But the other one is App State, Appalachian State. My nephew, he goes to Appalachian State. He's a junior now. And Appalachian State's always been one of these interesting teams. You know, the big college teams, the top 25 teams, maybe the top 10, top 15. Most of the time, their first game of the year, first and maybe second games of the year, are usually against cream puff opponents. Let's be honest, Maryland was considered a cream puff opponent for Texas, and we saw how that worked out. Clemson played Fordham, I think, which is a really kind of a cream puff team as well, and it showed. They were beaten like 44-7 or something like that. So App State has always been considered one of these like powder puff type of college programs, but you think they'd learn after two of the last 5 years, App State has actually beaten a high-ranked team, like fourth, I think. They beat a seventh maybe or something like that. They beat them, and in some cases beat them pretty good. So people underestimate App State. Now, the last few years, they haven't been winning the big games like they're supposed to. They've been winning in their division against teams that are the same as them, but they haven't been playing as well against the bigger teams. Well, again, they got the situation where Penn State said, hey, let's play a game against Appalachian State. Penn State is ranked number 5, I think, in the country. Let's play App State. This will be a nice little powder cream puff game. Yeah, we'll let them do it down in Appalachian State. It's cool. I think they did. Maybe they didn't. Maybe it was in Penn State. Regardless. So Penn State, which is, like I said, like number 5 in the country, played my nephew's team, Appalachian State. Penn State won, but in overtime, 45-38. Appalachian State came back from a 31-17 deficit. They scored basically like 3 times in like the last half of the game, and then went ahead with like a minute some left, but they got lackadaisical, I guess, and Penn State rolled it back down there and tied it up, and then they went to overtime, and then Penn State got down there and got a touchdown, but then App State had a chance to tie it up again, and they weren't able to do it, and they lost. But the fact that Appalachian State only lost a game to number 5 team in the country by a touchdown in OT, says a lot about Penn State. Either well, obviously they misjudged the team, but this is going to hurt their rankings. I think they're number 5 now. They won, but guess what? You beat Appalachian State, and they almost beat you. I think margin of victory is also that plays into the rankings. They might be out of the top 10. They'll probably still be in the top 15, maybe top 20, but they're going to drop. If they only drop a couple, I'm going to be surprised. I think they're dropping out of the top 10. We'll see. So that's kind of interesting day here in college football today, because it's back on now. September 1st is the beginning of all that as well. It's Labor Day weekend also. I still got 2 more days off after this, which is fantastic, and then I don't have another holiday weekend until Thanksgiving. So got a little ways to go after that. But that's okay. It's cool. I'm taking a day off here and there, which will help out. So that'll be good. This is interesting, but you don't care about the fact that we were coming back from dinner. There were multiple police cars screaming by us with their lights on, heading in a direction near my neighborhood. But I haven't seen anything that happened to it, so we'll see what happens. A bullied boy doesn't fight back, doesn't want to fight back, even though he gets beaten pretty good, because it's not the Jedi way. He, the nerdy guy, I guess, got picked on at school, and they beat him up. But he never fought back because it's not the Jedi way to fight back. So his story went viral, and Mark Hamill, everyone's favorite Luke Skywalker, tweeted his respect and reached out to him on Twitter and said, that's a really good attitude to have, and you're a true Jedi type of stuff. So it was kind of cool. So that's an interesting little neat story. Bullying disgusts me. I was bullied, so I have experience. But what this kid did is pretty cool. And the fact that he's able to take the beating and then just turn the other cheek and be okay. Because, there have been kids as young as my son who killed themselves after getting bullied. And that just freaking scares me to death. That's the biggest thing that scares me to death about my daughter right now going to 6th grade, because 6th grade is different. Middle school is different than elementary school. And I hope it's not. Plus, she's going to start going through puberty really soon, and that's going to make a whole nother situation come up over the next 3 years. It's going to be difficult. And then my son's going to be in there. When my daughter's in 8th grade, my son's going to be in 6th grade. So it's going to be crazy. So that's what I'm fearing the most, though. So I'm fearing bullying them, but I think I was bullied in elementary school a lot, and I haven't heard of either of the kids being bullied in elementary school. So maybe that's a good sign. Maybe things are different nowadays than they were back in the old days. I don't know. Maybe they went about stuff differently than I did, which is also a possibility. Who knows? So it's good on that. The rosehip neuron has been discovered. It is a new cell in the human brain. I always love when they discover new things. A few months back, I did a story where they discovered a new organ in our body. So we obviously don't know everything about our bodies yet. I don't know much about this rosehip neuron. When I was reading the article, they went all techno babble on me. It does a bit of the analyticals, but it's like, oh, la, 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 la. I didn't quite understand it, but the fact is there's a new neuron in our brains that has just been discovered. So huzzah on that. Are we after? That's all the other stories except for replacements, in dreams, check eye day, and anniversaries. It's time for a sex story, and then we'll do the replacements review real quick, and then we'll hit the other stuff, and we'll get the hell out of Dodge. The sex story today. Drive-in sex boxes for prostitution. Wait a second. Paid for by taxpayers is a huge success in Switzerland. So apparently, there's these rooms. I guess I just saw a picture of the exterior. They look almost like toll booths. They'd be about that big. They're probably bigger, but there's probably like a bed or something in there. And you should drive up in your car. You get out. You pay your money. You have sex with the prostitute. Get back in your car and leave. I guess that's interesting. It is interesting. I don't quite get it, but the taxpayers are happy to pay for it, and they're a big success. So huzzah! That's my sex story for today. So I'm going to try to get at least one sex story in there because sex does sell, and it's fun. Sex is fun. All right, real quick. I wanted to spend a little more time on this, but I'm running out of time. Maybe this is not the place for it, but a great movie to watch now would be the movie The Replacements. Football movie that came out 2000. It was actually Keanu Reeves' follow-up to The Matrix. So after The Matrix came out, Keanu was huge, and so everybody was waiting to see what his next movie was. He chose this fluffy comedy, totally cliched comedy, but it's funny. It's a lot of fun, and it was filmed right here in Baltimore, down at Raven Stadium, actually. It's called The Replacements. It stars Keanu Reeves, Gene Hackman, Orlando Brown, John Favreau, Rhys Ifans. Who else? And I can't think of the guy. The owner's name was a famous actor also. I think it's like Jack something. He was in While You Were Sleeping, and I can't remember his name. Jack Warden, I think. It was Jack Warden, yeah. And the premise is kind of based on a true story. Back in the late 80s, the NFL went on strike. So instead of canceling the season, the owners brought in Scab. I don't know if that's probably the bad word, but replacement players to play out the remaining season so that football would disappear. It was also kind of leverage for the owners to say, hey, you know what? You don't want to play football with, guess what? We got these guys from college who were cut, who were not NFL players but tried out at one time or another, or wanted to become an NFL player but just either were not good enough or you guys were just better than them. Guess what? They're just as good, and we're going to have them play in your stead. Obviously didn't go over well with the NFL players, but they played, I think it was an abbreviated 14-game season. It was the year the Redskins won their 3rd Super Bowl, I think, in the last decade or so. So they were the Super Bowl champions. So in order to differentiate it from the real replacement player story, they changed the names of the teams. It was the Washington Senators, I want to say. Maybe not, because that was the former baseball team, Generals, something like that. But it wasn't the Redskins. And so Gene Hackman was a coach that coached for the owner, Jack Warden, before and was successful. And they brought him back to say, hey, I need your guidance to train these scabs, these replacement players, because the regular players are a bunch of whiny babies and these guys are hungry and you're the best one to do it. And Gene Hackman's like, I'm thinking about it. And he said, hey, look, this is what's going to happen. You're going to let me pick my players, and you're not going to interfere at all. And the guy's like, okay, I got no other choice. So Hackman goes out, and he's been keeping an eye on some certain players. So he goes and meets up with them and is able to bring them in. It's a myriad of different players, which in general makes sense. The main characters you look at, Keanu Reeves plays the quarterback. He was a brilliant college quarterback until he had a massive, horrible, awful game in the Sugar Bowl. And because he had that awful game, nobody wanted to draft him, and so he sort of disappeared into oblivion. You have Rhys Ifans, who is an Welsh soccer player, or football, if you will. But he can kick the ball the length of the field. As your field goal kicker, he can make 70-yard field goals and stuff like that perfectly. So you have him. You have Jean Favreau, who plays kind of a psychotic police officer who doesn't mind, roughing people up to get where he needs to, beating up the bad guys as one of your defensive guys, who's probably a linebacker because they're the guys that rush the quarterback and sack them. You've got Japanese wrestling, not Cujo, that's the name of the dog. But it's the Japanese wrestling with the big guys who bang into each other. Sumo, thank you. Sumo wrestlers. They brought a sumo wrestler in to be part of the defensive line. Why not? I mean, it's a big fat guy who you can't move. If he can push people down and push them away, because that's what sumo is, you've got a good defensive guy. 2 big black guys who are twins, who are bodyguards now for rock stars, and they're big guys. So you have that as your defensive line. It's pretty good. You have a wide receiver who has really good hands and has good speed. He's deaf, so he didn't get picked because nobody wants to sign things and he wouldn't understand a lot of stuff you're saying. You have Orlando Brown's character who's fast, but his hands are a mess, and that's something you can train, but he's fast. That's what you really want for that. I feel like I'm missing somebody. You have a actual NFL player, really good one, drafted, was playing for a team, stuff like that, till he beat up police officers and has now been imprisoned in jail. Gene Hackman was able to get him out of jail to play for his team, special deal or whatever, but they had to change his name so nobody knew who he was, and that they did this. So that was kind of interesting about that they were able to do that. They brought in a preacher, a guy who's a preacher now, who's a really good tight end but has bad knees, as sort of your good type of guy to bring everybody together. And there's probably a few other people I'm missing, but obviously, in a cliche type of sports movie like this, at first they all hate each other, they can't get along, but eventually they start to gel and they actually start to become a pretty good team. They end up having to play 4 games and they have to win 3 of the 4. And the last one is on Thanksgiving night, and if they win that one, they go to the playoffs, which is one of the problems I have, which I'll get into in a second with the movie. So you have that main story. So you get your typically cliched sports thing where they hate each other, something comes along, eventually they start working together and gelling, and they actually become very successful, and everybody begins to love them. Even though they're replacement players, they still seem to be, the fans love them because they're just like them. They were exactly like them until they were just able to come in and relive their dreams, given a second chance. And there's antagonism with the NFL players who are on strike, including a star quarterback who's got 3 Super Bowl rings, who's kind of an asshole. He's on strike and sort of becomes the main antagonist in the movie. And you have the love story between Keanu Reeves' quarterback and the head cheerleader. Now, this is another issue I have with the movie, which we'll talk about in a second, with the head cheerleader thing. And of course, spoiler alert, I mean, I'm not really spoiling anything, because if you've seen this type of movie before, you know exactly what's going to happen and stuff like that. You just don't know the actual way it works itself out. But in general, it's still worth it. It's a fun, quick movie. It's only like a $1.45, an hour and 45 minutes long, and it's real quick. They shot 3 of the 4 games at Raven Stadium. They filmed a lot of sequences in Baltimore. Keanu Reeves' character is a guy who cleans boats, goes in the water and cleans the stuff that gets on people's boats, and he does that. That's at the Inner Harbor where he's doing that. So interesting little things like that. So you see lots of Baltimore here. It's supposed to take place in Washington, D.C., but Baltimore makes a pretty good Washington, D.C. Particularly the fact that I know that that's Raven Stadium, and pretty much everybody in the world knows Raven Stadium because it's purple. It's the colors of the seats. So, but still, it's good. So I really enjoy the movie. It is really a lot of fun, and I like cliche movies where I kind of know what's going to happen, and I know in the end they're going to win the big game and all this stuff. But it's just the character interactions are really good, and just it's just a wide-ranging amount of characters, and it's a lot of fun to do it. Now, I have a few little problems with it, which I'm going to talk about right now. Oh, that's an error. The first thing is the cheerleaders. Now, one of the funniest parts of the movie is that the head cheerleader has to recruit new cheerleaders, which doesn't make much sense, because are the regular cheerleaders on strike? That doesn't make any sense. And the reason why that becomes a story is because they want to make a little comedy bit where they want to have replacement cheerleaders. So you bring in people off the street who actually, when I worked at the radio station, I was doing an event for the radio station where it was an extras casting type of thing. So I got to see the producers and maybe even the director of the movie, and they were looking at people who wanted to be cast in the film and sending their pictures and talking to them and getting pictures taken and stuff like that. So it was kind of cool. So they had a bunch of extras come in and do the worst, absolute worst cheerleading stuff you could come up with. And so you had that aspect of it. And then here's where the jokes. You had those comedic pieces. But then the other joke was the last 2 ladies who were trying out turned out to be strippers. And they have dance experience, and they're pretty good at moving their bodies, stuff like that. So the head cheerleader was like, okay, that sounds good. I like it. And she said, do you guys have any friends? So they bring all of their stripper friends over to become cheerleaders. So, of course, the stripper friends all start doing these really hot, sexy cheerleading things, where they're pretending to lick each other, and they're grabbing their breasts and doing stuff and pretending to, fornicate on each other and stuff like that. And there's some just funny bits in the film where it distracts the opposing team when one of the women slaps the other one in the butt, and it causes them to have a false start and drops them back 5 yards and stuff like that. So that's kind of fun, but it doesn't make any sense, because why were the cheerleaders on strike also? Our cheerleaders at the Ravens games are regular girls who audition. And even if our team went on strike and we had replacement players, I don't think the cheerleaders would go on strike. They would still come to work unless they left in solidarity with them. But I don't think that's the case because they never discussed that in the movie. So that's one problem I had with it. Kind of choppy. Yeah. The other problem I have is the big final game where the odds are stacked against the loser team is on Thanksgiving night in Washington against Dallas, and the winner of that game goes to the playoffs. Now, even in a truncated, small football season, you still have the whole month of December, and that's not, that's not playoff time. There's 16 games in an NFL season, and that takes you, if you started in September, it takes you all the way to the end of December, and playoffs are in January, with the Super Bowl being in February. Now, you could make the case that it's a truncated season and stuff like that, but the thing is, they say that, spoiler alert, that the strike ends the day before, or the day before that, the big game. And so, well, not the strike ends, but people are crossing, and the strike is going to end after that game. So the Dallas team has all walked across the picket line and are now going to be playing in that playoff game. So professional players are going to be playing against the replacement players, and that's what they were trying to build for the big finale. So first of all, Thanksgiving games do not determine playoffs. Again, if it's a truncated season, okay, maybe, but in this case, it still pissed me off a little bit. Second, again, I know this isn't the real NFL world, but Dallas and Detroit are the only two who have permanent Thanksgiving games, and they're always at home. Dallas always has their game at home. Detroit always has their game at home. Now, the NFL Network has added a third game, which they've turned into a rotation of other teams to give everybody a chance to play on Thanksgiving at one time or another, but there is no one team that plays every year along with Dallas and Detroit. Like the Ravens have played 2 years during this time when they did this. Won them both, one against Pittsburgh, one against San Francisco. And so it just wouldn't make sense. And then it wouldn't be at night either if it's against Detroit. Now, if you want to make the case that it's the third game in the NFL Network thing and that is at night, okay, I suppose you can make that deal. But the thing that really drives me crazy is it does not determine the playoffs. You still have 4 to 5 games left after Thanksgiving before the playoffs. Again, could you make the case for a truncated season? Sure, I suppose. But to me, it just seemed like, they wanted to make it dramatic. Thanksgiving is, everyone knows Thanksgiving. Everyone knows there's football on Thanksgiving. It's synonymous with Thanksgiving, really. So they wanted to make it like that. Now, in that game, this was just bad editing in the case that there was a sequence where Keanu Reeves is out on the field. And then literally like a second later, they show him off the field talking to his coach. And then he's back on the field again almost immediately after that in the same spot, same location, doing the exact same thing that he was doing before that sequence. Now, you could say it's the next play and they're showing time changes. I don't buy it. I think it was a mistake, and they shouldn't have shown that. This is another, there's going to be some spoilers. This one is Nigel Gruff's character, who was played by Rhys Ifans, the Welsh football star who can kick the ball 70-plus yards. He owns a pub that he bought with money that he borrowed from gangsters or whatever, bettors or whatever you want to call it. And he, the whole thing is that they realize that this Thanksgiving game is the last game they're all going to play because all the strike is basically over, and the team, if they go win the playoffs, the Washington team of professionals will be in the playoffs and not them, even though they won 3 of the 4 games they were supposed to. So at the end, so the fear that they all have is that they're going to be going back to their normal lives, and the bar is the only thing that Nigel has left in his life. Now, again, as I said, he took his money from bookies and stuff like that, and he said he had the money, but to pay them back, but he blew it on the track. So now he has no money, and now these guys are going to come to the game and tell him he's got to fix it, where to lose intentionally so they can win a bet on the money, and the deal would be done. That's just an added story arc that really didn't go anywhere, because you don't see them actually coming to him and say, you need to throw this game. He just sees them in the stands and makes the assumption, oh, shoot, they want me to throw the game. And if I don't do it, they're going to take my pub away from me, and that's all I got. And I don't want to throw the game because we've worked so hard to come back against these losers, and we want to make a statement that we were good players, and he wants to make a good statement, but he doesn't want to lose his pub. So he puts all that on Keanu's character, and Keanu's got to figure out a way to help him. So in the end, spoiler alert, what he does is Nigel's getting ready to kick a field goal, and he's probably going to shank it, which would make them lose. And that's the thing, is they haven't talked to him. They don't know what the point spread is he's got to lose by. You can't just make a bet and say, we're going to bet that Washington loses this game to Dallas. Okay. Have you ever actually bet? Because if you actually bet, what you need to do is you need to put a point spread down. This Washington team has got to lose by Dallas by 3, by 7, whatever, in order for them to make any money. So there's no scene where they come to him and say, you're going to have to throw this game, because he's been playing the game at a high level the whole time until he sees them in the stands right before this big kick that could win the game for them or tie the game for them. And so Keanu has to come up with the idea. So what he ends up doing is he knows that Nigel's going to shank it. So he takes the ball away, because he's holding the ball for Nigel to kick it. He takes it away so that when Nigel goes to kick it, he slips and falls down. And then Flacco takes the ball and he throws it and he gets a touchdown, and they win the game. Except there's a flag and they have to do it again, which is another thing that they throw in there for dramatic sake. But Nigel has, because of the fall, he's broken his wrist. And as they're coming off the field, he goes, "Thanks, you saved my butt, Falco or Joe or whatever his name was." And it's Falco is his name, but I don't think it's Joe. That's because I think Joe Flacco when I think that. But how is that case? Because they still have a chance to score by a touchdown. Now, if you were supposed to shank the ball and have Dallas win by 3 so that your bookies could win, how is it that you're okay with if Falco or Keanu gets a touchdown that Washington wins by 6? Actually, technically, I guess it would be 3. Also, if they don't kick the extra point. But then, that's the point, though. Then you have Washington winning by 3. Now, if you wanted them to lose by 3, that's the problem. If there was a 3-point spread in there somewhere, what would make you from tying the game up, Nigel, and then kicking a field goal to win the game in overtime for 3 and still have the 3-point cover spread? I don't understand. So I don't quite understand that aspect of it. So I don't understand how Keanu's character saved him by pulling the ball away from him, because the Washington ends up, spoiler, winning the game anyway. I don't know. I think there was supposed to be a love triangle between the asshole quarterback, Keanu Reeves' character, and the head cheerleader, because there's a moment at the end of the movie where the asshole quarterback is talking to Keanu and saying she deserves better. And I've always made it think that he was talking about the team, the Washington team, and calling it a her, because that's what people do. She deserves better, meaning the Washington team, not the girlfriend. But then there's a sequence where this asshole quarterback who has crossed the line and Falco gets kicked out due to the owner, Jack Warden, forcing Gene Hackman to put the pro quarterback in against Dallas instead of Falco. There's a scene where he's walking, the asshole quarterback is walking in slow motion and looks back at the cheerleader, and the cheerleader looks back at him as if there was supposed to be some sort of relationship between them that never gets covered and never gets touched on. So either it was originally going to have to be that way, and the director was like, you know what, this is just not going anywhere. I don't like this story. I'm going to cut the storyline off, but kept that scene in there because we need the time. And it's just a good little reaction shot. She's like, oh, I'm so mad at you for having my boyfriend not playing, that type of thing. But then that comment about before all that happens that she deserves better, I think there was supposed to be a love triangle between the three of them, which would be kind of stupid in this already cliched movie. And the asshole quarterback is already an asshole. And we've already established that the cheerleader, she doesn't really like quarterbacks all that much, but Keanu's different because he's not like the other quarterbacks, so she wouldn't really be interested in him, that type of thing. So you get kind of that weird vibe that he might be kind of a stalkery type of guy. But in the end, they didn't play that aspect of it, and I'm kind of glad. It just, I think that's what they originally were going to be planning on doing it. And finally, the movie itself was kind of choppy. They had little bits and pieces like jumping around, lots of editing, slow motions, fast. But I guess you were kind of get that for a feel of it's like in a football game. There's some really cool stuff during the games itself with some spin moves, and it gives you the feeling of the excitement, the pressure being on the field and stuff like that. But just seems the story arcs seem to be like choppy around. Maybe it was the love triangle. They chopped out all the scenes with the love triangle, with the exception of the two that I just mentioned. And you can interpret them any way you want to at that point. And maybe that's what caused the kind of bizarre editing that seemed like to me was boom, 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 boom. So there's that. And that's my review of the Replacements. A good movie. I highly recommend that you go see it because it's funny. It's great. It's life-affirming. It's really nothing really bad. There's no sex in it. There's a little kissing, but that's about it. There is a bar fight in it. And there's football. A little bit of gunplay, but that's something else. But there's no real violence in it, except for the fight scene. And not any gore or horror stuff like that. It's a fun, I would almost say a family film, though there is some adult stuff that happens, particularly with the stripper cheerleaders. But that's besides the point. I watched with my daughter, and there were a few scenes I was like, "Ooh, I forgot about that," and she didn't react to it. Well, she did react to one where the one stripper cheerleader was miming a blowjob to the deaf tight end, and my daughter was like, "What's she doing?" And I was like, "Oh, nothing. Don't worry about it." I would still let her watch it again, though, because it's a fun film and I like it. So there's that. So that's my review of The Replacements, and that's all we're going to talk about right now. So let's just hit In Dreams real quick. Anniversary stuff. Check ID will be out here. So let's just say it's 11:32. Let's just say by about 11:40 we'll be done. Okay, Scott, can you handle about 10 more minutes? All right. Maybe not even that long. Might be 5 minutes. So here we go. I've been having some crazy dreams, but again, I'm having this Walking Dead sort of one again. It's in a place I've been at before in other dreams. And I mentioned, I think, in one of my other In Dreams thing, it's a weird amalgamation of like a camp ranger station in the woods type of thing. And so I've had it been there before in a zombie dream. In this case, though, we caught a zombie, and we put him in a tub and poured Clorox on it, and it melted the skin down to the bones. That was kind of a weird type of thing. And we had, like, and I don't know where this came from, but we had some people who were handicapped, overweight, or whatever, who were trained to fight, and we were watching from the inside of the building, and they're out there trained to fight, and all of a sudden these zombies come, grab them, handcuff them, and drag them away, and we don't do anything about it. So I don't know what that's all about. So that was my Walking Dead dream. Now, I've been having some other dreams. I just don't remember them, but I have been having a lot of dreams lately, so hopefully I'll be able to remember some more of them, and we can do this again next week. What we got coming out this week, we had Mary Poppins is 53 years old this week. My So-Called Life is 24 years old this week. Dark Man, which is a great film from Sam Raimi. It's a superhero type film with Liam Neeson. Great Danny Elfman score, which was directed by Sam Raimi, is 28 years ago. Super Mario Kart, the video game, is 26 years old. We still play that here in this house. Earlier this week, there's a big deal about the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers 25th anniversary. So for about a day, it was just when it was the actual day of the 25th anniversary, it was Power Rangers galore all over the place. Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me was also 26 years ago. It's actually a film that, when it first came out, when I was in college, still fresh from the sore that Twin Peaks got canceled and the film wasn't quite exactly what I was looking for, and it was a little off kilter for me. But now, looking at it again from perspective 26 years later, before I watched it before the return, it's actually a very brilliant piece of filmmaking by David Lynch, and has a lot more to do with the return than the actual TV show might have done. I talked about Harry Potter already, and Natural Born Killers was also 24 years ago this week. So that's everything out this week. Let's look at my new iPhone 8 Plus, I guess. And let's see what Check ID's got going on for me today. I'm all... my hands are all sweaty and disgusting, so it's going to take a while. So let me see. Search. Boom. Check ID. There it is. All right. So today, September 1st, besides all the stuff I talked about earlier, is American Chess Day, Building and Code Staff Appreciation Day, Chicken Boys Day, Emma M. Nuts Day, Franchise Appreciation Day, International Bacon Day, International Vulture Awareness Day, National Cherry Popover Day, National Hummingbird Day, National No Rhyme or Reason Day, National Tailgating Day, it's Pink Cadillac Day, Toy Tips Executive Toy Test Day, it's World Beard Day, so hey, my bearded lady story fit in with that. World Letter Writing Day. It's actually also, this isn't in Check ID, but it's also Comic Book Letter Appreciation Day, because letters and comic books should be appreciated. August 31st was College Colors Day, Eat Outside Day, Forgive Your Foe Friday, Love Litigating Lawyers Day, National Diatomaceous Earth Day, National Matchmaker Day, National Trail Mix Day, We Love Memoirs Day. August 30th was Frankenstein Day, International Day That Disappeared, National Beach Day, National Grief Awareness Day, National Holistic Pet Day, National Toasted Marshmallow Day, Slinky Day, Thoughtful Thursday. That was it for that. And then, oops, I don't want to do that. I want to go here. So tomorrow, September 2nd, is World Coconut Day, Victory Over Japan Day, Spalding Baseball Day, Pierce Your Ears Day, National Blueberry Popsicle Day, Calendar Adjustment Day, and the best one, Bison 10 Yell Day. Bison 10 Yell Day. Bison 10 Yell Day is a wacky day that takes its name from a play on the words bicentennial. If you say Bison 10 Yell, very quickly it sounds like you're saying bicentennial. But what's the point? The day exists to celebrate the 200th birthday either of an imaginary person or the person who invented 10 verbal signals to yell to soldiers during a war. On one hand, the day is dedicated to an imaginary person. Every year the person turns 200. On the other hand, it honors the inventor of war signals, who also apparently turns 200 each year. Soldiers had to memorize the meanings of the secret signals, much like football players now in the NFL. Bison 10 Yell Day is being observed today. Well, tomorrow, actually. How to observe. The day can be celebrated in a few different ways. You could make up an imaginary person and celebrate their 200th birthday. A backstory could be created about them as to why they are important, and the story could be written down. You could possibly even make them change history. You could have a party or bake a cake for them. The 200th birthday of the person who invented battle signals could also be celebrated. Battle signals or other types of signals could be learned. A football game could be watched with special detail attention given to the signals they use. You can make up your own secret signals with someone else and use them while you are in public. The day could also probably be spent by yelling or by learning about bison. So It's actually good that they're expanding it a bit more. This is something new that they're doing, so I might pick one weird one every week now and read the description of it. So Bison 10 Yell Day is tomorrow. And that is your Check I Day for the week. Now, if you want to learn more about Check I Day and learn more about all the other holidays that happen every day, go to checkiday.com or on Twitter, follow them at checkiday. And that will be that. And I think I am done. Turn off my new phone. It's still at 100%, even though I haven't had it charged, plugged in this whole two hours. So, huzzah. So on that note, 11:40, that's about what time I said it was going to be over. Scott, thank you again for watching. Had a few other people pop in every once in a while, whoever you guys were or gals were. Thank you for doing that. And thank you all for watching, who are going to watch later on this week. I will probably not post this till tomorrow. So yeah, that's it. And on that note, September 1st is in the books. Episode 257 is in the books. I may cheat and do a double episode next week in order to get to 260 by the 15th, or I might do 2 actual ones. I don't know, we shall see. So come back here next week and find out what I decide. And hey, yeah, the countdown to 5 years is now at 14 days. So see you guys soon. Thanks again for watching. For those who are interested about the comic haul, as I said, I just got my comics today. I will probably be doing a double episode, maybe sometime during this holiday weekend, maybe tomorrow, maybe Monday. We'll see where timing brings in. I think I might do one tomorrow because my wife is actually going to be taking my daughter to a concert at Hershey Park. She doesn't know about it yet. My daughter doesn't. At Hershey Park tomorrow night, so I might be able to do that after I put my son to bed. So I think I'll probably do that. So tomorrow, take a look for a brand new episode of the Comic Haul, and then have a lovely Labor Day. It's the last, as I said, last 3-day weekend until about Thanksgiving for most people. So, and even then, you have to be sure you get Black Friday off. You're going to at least get 1 day off during that week, but we get 4, so it'll be nice. And then before we know it, it'll be Christmas. I know, not that far now. Welcome, meteorological fall. Best quarter of the year starts now.